Thank you. Oh, I'm on, aren't I? Thank you. Okay.
All right, how's everybody doing? Good. We are about to get warmed up and get started. Just want to go over some very brief announcements before we get going. Just your resurrection schedule that's on the screen and all of the items of importance there. If we just could pan back in on the screen for a second and put those items up so that the audience can get it, because I don't know if the online audience has it or not. There we go. I want to make sure we have that. The Bible studies. This session ends on April the 1st. This session, Bible study is being broken up into 8-week schedules, 6 to 8 week schedules this year, because we recognize there are some times when people are out, when they're traveling, especially over the summer. So the second session, the first session has gone from February 17th through April the 1st. And the last session of this Bible study will be the Stations of the Cross that ends on April 1st. And then we will take a break. We'll come back for the next session, which will be the stewardship of life, money, and how we spend both money and time matter. May 6th through June 17th. It culminates on June 27th and 28th at Vacation Bible School. I think it's going to be a good series. It doesn't teach us just about management of money. Most of y'all have figured that out. But most of us need to figure out what we do with our time and life, where we give our values, what we shape them around. And then the last one of the year will be the book of John, September the 9th through October 21st. We'll come back to that at another point. But as for now, we are still doing the 14 Stations of the Cross. I don't know why the pro presenter keep popping up on the screen up there, y'all. We might want to check that out. I don't know if it's warming up over and over again, but it keeps saying pro presenter on the screens down here. But with no further ado, our teacher from last week is back. She is back. She is back. She did a great job last week, and she's back this week. The only difference is, yeah, give her a hand. The only difference is she's a year older this week than she was last week. So your teacher is here today, and today is her actual birthday. So give it up for your teacher, and teacher, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Norman. Thank you again for this wonderful opportunity to stand before the people and teach and dive into the stations of the cross. As I've always I opened up with last week, it is very important that we pause during this season of Lent and this season of the cross and the resurrection of Christ so that we as believers can really identify with. Remember, we talked about that we may know him in the fellowship of his sufferings, right? In the power of his resurrection and in the fellowship of his suffering. So it's good for us to pause and slowly go through these stations. And we're getting to some difficult parts of the station. I believe that every station was difficult for Christ. But tonight we're going to attempt to go through 3 of them, Station 10, Station 11, and Station 12. And Station 10 is I think one of my most, like if you're a person that feels another person's pain, right? As we're going through these stations, it may be hard to visualize like what Christ was going through. And this one, Station 10, is particularly hard for me. Sometimes when I read through it, my heart kind of patters a little bit because this is Station 10 where Christ is crucified, right? So we're going to talk about that in a moment. We're going to dive into that. Last week, we covered him carrying his cross, Simon helping him with the cross, and him meeting the weeping women of Jerusalem. And so he is still on this path to the cross. And so today we pick up with Jesus being crucified. But before we dive in, any thoughts or concerns from the last 3 stations, any questions that you have or wonderings that you may have had as we walked through those stations last week? Anything? Anybody? You even remember? I just wanted to pause so we can connect the stations as we're walking, okay? All right, so we're going to dive in. Jesus is crucified. If I could have one person to read for me Luke, the 23rd chapter, verses 33 through 34. If someone could go to the mic, if you have it, or pastor may have it, if somebody would read that for me. Luke 23, 33 through 34. Okay. And pastor's here because he's going to answer some of those hard questions that you all may have that I may stumble a little bit with. So
I'm reading from the New King James Version.
Mm-hmm.
And when they had come to the place called Calvary, there they crucified him and the criminals, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Does it continue? Okay, and they divided his garments and cast lots.
All right, so clearly here we see what is happening in this text. Jesus and the other criminals are led to the place called the skull, okay, the place called the skull. And when they get there, the soldiers take Jesus and they nail him to the cross. I want to pause right there. They nail him to the cross. The nails are real. There is no buffer. He is all human. And for me, it is good often to stop and think about what he actually endured for us. The crucifixion was one of the worst forms of death by execution. And I won't go into the details. For many years, I have joined other women in talking about the last 7 sayings on the cross, and we walk through the details. I won't walk through the details, but I do want you to pause and think about for a moment what he endured for you, what he endured for me. They nailed him to the cross. There were 2 criminals with him that were deserving, one on his left and one on his right. And then Jesus utters his first word from the cross, okay? The crucifixion, before I go into the first word, is central. It's a central event that all of the Gospels record, okay? And so this day for Jesus, when they nailed him to the cross, started around 9 a.m. 9 a.m. in the morning. Anybody know how many hours he hung on the cross? 6. From the 3rd hour to the 9th hour, he hung on the cross from 9 until 3 p.m. What happened between 12 and 3 p.m.?
Sun refused to shine.
The sun, thank you, Pastor. The sun refused to shine from 12 until 3 p.m., but he hung on the cross from 9 until 3 p.m. for 6 hours. They nailed him to the cross. The criminals are with him. And the first thing that Jesus says from the cross is, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. This is the worst moment of his life. This is probably the most pain that he has endured. He is hanging from a cross that he has taken on for our sins. He was sinless. They have mocked him. Right now, during this time, the Jewish leaders are laughing at him. They're saying, if you be who you say you are, save yourself. Come down and save yourself. And they just hurled insults at him. And Jesus, in the midst of all of that, says, Father, forgive them. Jesus is our example, and he is our model. So what is he doing right here? He's giving us this tall order to do what? Forgive. He's given us this tall order to forgive, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that process of forgiveness, because for some of us, it takes a long time for us to be able to forgive, right? Anybody going to testify with me? Because I know. But Jesus did what I just told you. He was on the cross for only, not only, for the duration of 6 hours. And the first word he spoke was, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And when I read that, I was like, wow, that's a tall order, right? And so that says something to us. We are to learn from his life. And when he says that, right, it prompts us to think, like, what is our part in forgiveness, right? The definition of forgiveness says, an intentional, conscious choice to release feelings of resentment, vengeance, or anger toward a person that has harmed or hurt you, regardless of whether they actually deserve it. Let that sink in for a moment. Do I need to repeat it for anybody? Raise your hand if you need me to repeat it now, because you got to get it. All right, we already know this. It's giving up the right to hold on to it. It's giving up the right to hold offenses that have been against you by someone else. It's giving up the right to hold on to it. It doesn't happen overnight when we think about this thought of forgiveness, but the Bible instructs us to forgive. I want somebody, while I'm going on, to go to Matthew, the 6th chapter, the 14th through the 15th verse, and then someone goes to Luke 6:37, okay? Matthew 6, 14 through 15, and Luke 6 through 37, okay? Before we read that text, I want to ask you a question. Considering what Jesus was enduring at this time and his response, should there be anything that we could not forgive someone for? It should, and that's the godly answer to give, right? It shouldn't be. But honestly, in our hearts, like, right, and you think about past offenses and things that have happened. There are some cruel things that happen to people, you know, by way of other folks, like crimes and all of those things. But should there be anything that we are not able to forgive or shouldn't be able to forgive others for? So we're all good? We're all there? Are we there yet? We're not quite there yet. Now, before they read that, forgiveness does not always mean that you're going to re-engage, you're going to, reunite, you're going to repair, because all things aren't repairable, right? All relationships would not be restored. The key here is forgiveness. Because forgiveness lifts a weight off of you. Forgiveness is not for the other person, but it's for you. It frees you because it takes energy to hold on to, right? It takes energy to hold on to and to keep score and to keep up with. All of that takes energy. So it actually frees you, but it does something else. Somebody read Matthew, come to the mic and read Matthew 6:14 through 15. Anybody got it? Thank you. Matthew 6:14 through 15. Oh, you're good.
Good afternoon, yeah. You said 14. For if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast.
So you can pause right there. You got what I want you to get.
Okay.
All right. She said that there was an if and there was a but, right? If you forgive those who have made offense or sinned against you, then you will be forgiven, right? But then it says, but if you do not forgive. So by us forgiving, we receive forgiveness. You see the exchange? You see the condition? You see the prerequisite? Anybody used to try to go take accounting 201 in college and they was like, no, you can't take accounting 201 until you take accounting what? What is Anaya? 101, right? So I see that as a prerequisite that you got to forgive in order to be forgiven. And who in here need forgiveness? I know I do, like really on a daily basis. On a daily basis. Like I just can't help, right? What Paul says, what is it that I won't do what you know I'm supposed to do, and I end up not doing what I'm supposed to do and doing what I'm not supposed to do, right? Because it's not easy. It's not easy. So in order to be forgiven, we must forgive. And that was such a powerful moment on the cross that Jesus was concerned about these folks, right, who were making offense against him. Any thoughts about that? Any thoughts about that? Any thoughts about that? How many of you are tired of forgiving the same person over and over again? Somebody read for me Matthew 18, 21, 22. Somebody find that for me quickly. Matthew 18, 21 through 22. How many hands we tired of forgiving the same person for doing the same thing?
Setup. It's a setup. Don't hold your hand up.
No, it's a setup. Anybody got it? Matthew 18, 21 through 22? Okay.
Then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times.
So again, how many of you are tired of forgiving the same person for the same thing? And it's okay. We can be tired, right? Really, that is just like natural. We are tired. But Jesus is saying here that we should be in a posture to forgive at all times. Because he put another tag on it. He said, Father, forgive them. Because he said, for they know not what they do. Do you believe that some people, when they offend you, they really don't know what they're doing? Now, I know that some of them do. Y'all like on the some of them do side. Right? You can, okay. But do you believe that some folks really don't know what they're doing? If you want to comment, you can go to the mic. But there are some people that may offend you just out of deficits within themselves, who and how they are, and they really don't know even the extent of it or the weight of it or the actual pain that you're actually feeling. It may go over their head like, I am offending you and I don't even know it. And you have to think about that. Some people really don't know what they're doing. There are a lot of people really don't even have sometimes the mental capacity to understand what they're doing to you, how they're hurting you, right? And so when you have forgiveness in your heart, it helps you to see people differently. It helps you to see, you can raise your hand, come to the mic, but while he's coming, it helps you to see people differently with compassion and consideration for even who they are.
Good evening, everybody. I have a forgiveness story, but I'm gonna be quick. I was in a class, advanced college class, and this lady told a story how this gentleman who drank a lot, and he shouldn't have been driving, and he had a couple of moving violations, and he was out driving. He was drunk. He killed her mama. And so the whole family was upset, went to court, he went to jail. He got out of prison, and this particular Mother's Day, she had went to the cemetery to put flower on her mom's grave. And he was there, and she recognized him, and she said that she just got cold on the inside. But he was there, and he was crying, and he was trying to beg this woman to forgive him. And so she heard something that her mama always told her, that the bigger person forgives. You're going to have to forgive. And she was sitting there in her mind arguing with her mama. I can't forgive him, he killed you. But she eventually faced the man. And she told him who she was and everything. He said, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I didn't know anybody was going to be here. And so she said, you know what? My mother would have me to forgive you. And so she said that she forgave him. She even taught her brothers into forgiving him. She said, Mama brought us up in church, and she brought us up to do the right thing. She said, y'all think that she would be happy in heaven knowing that we carrying this art against this man? And so that was because that blessed me. Because I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, if y'all can forgive this man for killing your mom, you know.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to tell y'all.
Powerful. That's a powerful testimony, right?
Yeah.
When you lose your loved one, it's hard. We have people in this room who've lost their loved ones to violence or crimes. And they found it in their heart to forgive so that they can keep going. Oh, Pastor got his hand.
No, it was a question, and I'm asking to the audience. Well, I'm going to say something first. Forgiveness is an active process. It is not a single point of arriving at something all at once.
Right.
Okay? It's an active and ongoing process. If you think for a moment that someone hurts you deeply and that you can get up and just say, I forgive you, and it is done, you're fooling yourself.
Right.
It is an active process. And it takes place over time, and the time for everyone is different. Okay? One of the greatest faults and failures of religion and the church is we paint a picture of forgiveness that is unreal. We want to be the bigger person. That word it stuck out in my head when you said it. Forced forgiveness doesn't ever work. I need you to go over there and forgive that person. A lot of times when we were little, we were told, you got to forgive them if you want God to, forgive you. And you tried to say, I forgive, and you forced your way into forgiveness, but you never let go of the actions of the individual. Mm-hmm. So forced forgiveness is one of the worst things you can do. And rushed forgiveness is another damaging, self-inflicting thing. Mm-hmm. The active process of thinking through and understanding. Jesus didn't just arrive at Calvary. He knew all the time what was going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. He says what was said in Psalm 22. He knew they were going to do this to him, right? That which you must do, go ahead and do it. The Son of Man is going to die at the hands of men. He's been saying this all the time. Mm-hmm. So he's preparing himself. And also, as it has been said to us, the model of instruction is being demonstrated for us. But we have to be very careful that we don't heap up on ourselves a model to make us rush to forgiveness. Right. Because let me tell you something. I'm going to ask you another question, see if you'll be this honest with me. How many of y'all have forgiven somebody that you had to come back and forgive them again? Right, because you really hadn't forgiven them in the beginning. You tried to, and you wanted to, and you said you were trying to come to it. But the pain or the reminder or the revisitation of the consequences of what happened to you by the hands of that person kept showing up. And every time that shows up, you feel the need that anger rises up again, and those feelings rise up. That's why it's an active process. And one of the models that was demonstrated in the United States that I thought, I loved it, but I was concerned. When Dylan Roof went into the church and shot up the people in Bible study, and immediately the people from the church came out within a day or so and said, we forgive you, right? He had been picked up by the police and taken to jail and so forth, and they said, we forgive you. And it became this big story across the nation of this church and this shining example of godliness and forgiveness. But 5 to 10 years later, some of those people had traumas because some of what they thought would be obvious punishment enacted against the individual for what they had done didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And forgiveness is when I forgive you, regardless of what happens to you afterwards, doesn't hurt me. Right? So remember that. If you killed my mother in a car accident and you're drunk and the judge, and I forgive you while you're on trial, right? And the jury turns around and says, we're going to let him go. We didn't find anything. He just got 2 weeks in jail. And I go, wait a minute. Only 2 weeks? Now I'm back up there at what? Mm-hmm. Because what happened to you, in my eyes, does not fit what I expected. And that whole thing, and I want, that's a healthy part of trauma in relationships that we really need to think about. We try to forgive, and what?
Forget. That doesn't happen.
Do you ever forget? Right? It's an active process. You are forgiving, even now, some things and some people. And I got to be honest with you. if you think forgiveness is hard, try forgiving yourself. It's hard to forgive yourself. Right? It's hard to forgive yourself. You remind yourself of some things that you have done because you haven't completely forgiven yourself. So if you think it's hard to forgive yourself, rush to forgive somebody else. That forgiveness thing is a journey, y'all.
It is.
And you have to stay on it.
Any thoughts? Pastor said time, right? And it's a
Go
part
to
of...
the mic. Come on.
Go ahead.
This is one of those elements of the Bible study that this discussion is really beneficial for. It's not just for us to say what the Bible said. It's for us to say back to the Bible, God, why did you write that verse in there? No.
Well, yeah, this is a good discussion. I believe, well, like for me, I knew how it was when I didn't forgive and how the enemy tormented me. So after that, God began to, like you said, show me how to forgive quickly. I believe healing comes in after you try to forgive them. That's where the healing starts. Healing and you forgiving is two different things. So that's just my opinion, you know what I'm saying? So I believe you can. Yes, I do believe it's a process, but I do believe that you can forgive quickly. If somebody cut you off on the street, you know what, Lord, I forgive them. I don't want it in my heart, and then it turns to bitterness.
So I think sometimes we have to separate an act of forgiveness from an offense that occurs that is life's reality. If I forgive you for getting a parking space that I've been waiting on, ain't that hard, really. Right? I'm gonna pull on off and get another park. I'm PO'd, if I could say that. Right? I'm a little angry, right? But it's about 50 more parking spaces, and all I got to do is go get another one and walk away.
Right.
I can't equate that to you having a life-altering effect on me and saying I can be quick to forgive. You have taken something from me or caused a life-changing effect in my life that changed. Now, when you cut in front of me and spent my car around and I went in the ditch and you kept going, that's a little bit different. But if you just cut in front of me, I'm just going to cuss you and let you keep on going, right? I'm going to send some cuss words after you, right? That helped me to forgive. But I think when we talk about life-altering events and forever change, but that's what we need. If we're getting offended over you took my pencil, it's something wrong with us. But if we're getting offended, if we're getting offended over you took my life, you took something that changed the trajectory of my family, you hurt my children, that's hard to forgive, right? And those are those big offense items that are hard to forgive.
Right.
So one of the things, because I hear what you're saying, and my memory's pretty long, so forgiveness is hard because I don't let it go. But the times that I've been able to process or accept the behavior.
To process. All right, yeah.
Accept the behavior, I have to remind myself about that Jeremiah 29:11 is for everybody. That things that are purpose, things that happen, I'm still protected. It's not to harm me. So the things that were life altering to me was that I was able to understand that this is a part of my journey. What am I learning from it? Because it doesn't mean that I like what happened, but did it make me better? Did it learn? Am I able to treat somebody better? Am I able to give grace to something that happened? Because there's been things that I say significance, like the bad boss. Maybe he wasn't, I could have changed employment or thing, but I learned so much. I said it's the top 3 things in my life after losing my father at a young age. Becoming a mom. It's like Hank is my 3rd thing that changed how I am today.
Right.
It's made me better for a lot of people around me, how I see things. So, yeah, if I saw Hank walking past me, I would give him a stink eye. But I things that have happened that didn't meet Deanna's expectations.
Right.
But it allowed me to learn and be better for it and still be that witness for what God needs to see.
That's excellent. So I don't hijack the thought and you get back to it. Can you forgive without God?
No.
That's a
Oh,
huge
no.
theological component of life. Is it Father, forgive them, right? God help me. God do for me what is very difficult for me to do, right? And for they know not what they do, they don't have a full understanding, not just of the harm they've done to me, but the harm that they've caused themselves. He came unto his own, and his own received him not.
Yeah.
So forgive them so that they are not eternally condemned by you. Forgive them so they can have eternal life, not just for what they are doing to me. I'm over what they're doing to me because I knew they were going to do it, right?
Right.
But Lord, I need you to forgive them because they don't know the consequences of what they just gave up. You ever saw somebody who chose wrong in life and you looked at the choice they were making and you just shook your head when they were making it, kind of like, oh my God, right? Oh, I can't believe they're doing that, right? You with your best girlfriend and she choosing the guy without a job because he looked good. And the hard-working man over here, she going, I don't like him, and you saying, girl, right? You're saying, she don't know what she doing, right? She is bringing consequence into her life that she doesn't realize the impact of. He was more concerned about them for what they were doing to themselves
Right.
than for him and what they were doing to him. They know not what they do to me, but they really don't know what they're doing to themselves. And that's a that's a depth of forgiveness. That is a much deeper transit of forgiveness than just him being concerned about what happened to him in that relationship. Sometimes you are praying for people who do things to you that they don't do those things again because anybody else would treat them differently. I have prayed for folk who worked for me and did me wrong because I said, Lord, they wouldn't be able to get a job and carry this out somewhere else. And for what you have conditioned my heart to be able to do, I can instruct them and they'll still have a form of livelihood. That's for them. It's not for me. They were doing more harm to themselves. And I was asking God to give corrective measure because if they took that behavior anywhere else, they'd be gone.
Right.
Forgiveness is a huge spiritual discipline. Keep on working at it. It's an active, just remember this. It is you said it right, Deanna, it's an active process.
Yep. And it's a part of the healing, right? It's an active process and it's a part of the healing. And you have to allow yourself to take the time to heal. Because I like what Pastor said, we don't want to rush forgiveness, right? Because somebody may be in a position to forgive this particular incident and somebody may not be. You may not be able to forgive as quickly, whereas somebody else can forgive quickly because our healing processes are different.
I have a question that was sent.
Okay.
What keeps people from seeking forgiveness? Pride is the number one answer. Pride, because in order to, and that's what I would say back to the individual that's listening, pride is the number one answer because what keeps me from seeking forgiveness is that I don't want to acknowledge that I've done wrong. I don't want to look at, some probably these, some of these people came back and acknowledged what they had done wrong, right? Remember, the centurion says, surely this must have been the Son of God, right? There were those who were at the cross who did have change of heart that was believed. But Jesus also knew that there would be some that had too much pride to ever acknowledge that they were wrong. And one of the things that keeps people from seeking our forgiveness is they would have to stop and understand what they have done. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They would have to want to understand the impact of what I have done to you in your life. And you might say, okay, I took $10 off of your desk, right? I took your $10 off your desk. It wasn't but what? $10. To you, to me, it was a small thing, right? To you, it was your last $10 that you needed $2 worth of gas to go by the drugstore and get some medicine for your child and hopefully get a loaf of bread. And you took my $10
Right.
and have set off a whole chain reaction of things that run deeper in my life, and you took the $10 for something frivolous, right? You did something that you thought didn't matter. Now, back to your story, and this is a new part of law that you all may be seeing more regularly. It's called victim restitution, where they get a chance to address the person and tell them what you have done to me and the impact of it. You remember in Arkansas a few years ago, a similar case of a girl who was drunk and went and killed a person on the highway. And year after year, the family asked for one thing. They said, year after year, they gave her a suspended sentence and probation for like 10 years. But they said if she did not meet the terms of probation, she would have to go and serve the full sentence of 20 years. The term of probation, get this, was that once a year on that woman's birthday, she had to meet with the family, and they got a chance to say how they were doing and what your actions did to me. She was free. She was free, but she had to meet with them every year on the birthday, right? She accepted the terms of probation. After year number 3 or 4, guess what she asked the judge to do? Send me to jail.
Yeah.
The weight of having to hear what your actions does to a person is hard. And we would avoid that. So I would rather get around that. I want to fix it, but I don't want to hear about it. Number one reason people don't seek forgiveness.
So I have a question. If they don't seek forgiveness or ask for forgiveness, are we still obligated to forgive?
Yes.
It was a trick question. I know you all knew the answer. I knew you knew the answer to that, but go ahead.
You can never have a Bible study where the word forgive comes up and
I
it not
know.
take at least an hour.
I'm sorry.
No, this is good. Because this is healthy Bible study. This is deep into the Bible for what the Word of God says and not trying to skate across the surface of it.
Right.
Go ahead.
So you said even if they don't ask for, but don't they have to acknowledge, confess that they did wrong in order to ask for forgiveness? Or are you saying that we still forgive them even though they may not ask for forgiveness?
So the only prerequisite that I read when they read Matthew 6:14 and 15 was if we did not forgive, that we will not be forgiven. There was no wording where they had to acknowledge, they had to ask. It was not on them, it's on us. Now that's my understanding. So let's dialogue about that, because they may never ask for your forgiveness,
Right.
and you're going to carry the weight of that.
So that's why we, like even forgive ourselves for
Yeah.
something that we do. But
The online crowd said this is good. Just want y'all to know that.
Last week or week before last, there was a teacher who was killed by some students who were
Yes.
toilet paper in his
Yes.
house. And the first thing his wife did was said to forgive them, you know, let it go. So I asked Kendall, Kendall was saying, oh, they all need to go to jail. Get them all, get them all, get them all. And I said, I thought about that, and I was like, I was really thinking, honey, no, she's on the right track. You know, she did the right thing. But then I asked myself, could I have done that if it had been him? And I thought, oh, no, kill him, kill him, kill him.
And
You know,
it became more
send him to jail,
real.
Whatever. But and I do understand that, you know, even though we may ask forgiveness from someone, time heals that, like part of that healing process. As time goes by, even though you may have forgiven someone at some point, it still hurts,
Yes.
you know, in the beginning, but as time goes by, it could be years go by. It gets easier and easier, but you don't forget. It's still there, weighing on, you know, it's still there, but you still forget.
And he's next, but she just said something really important. It still hurts. You forgive, but it still hurts. You still feel it. You don't forget it, but you give up the right to just hold that offense against them for payment, right? You release the debt, but it still hurts, and you still feel it for years and years and years to come.
And so my question to her, I said, are you operating in emotions? And what about those two kids who have to grow up without their father? Who's going to be accountable for that? And so she said, well, I have to think about that one.
Yeah.
And that was hard. But I understood her point too. But when you do something unintentional and it causes that much harm, how do we rectify that?
So let me answer the question with the first part of what you said. When you forgive, who's going to be accountable, right? All right. The very words that you just used are in juxtaposition against one another. Forgive, accountable. Forgive means to what? Write it off.
Write it off. You forgive the debt.
I ain't counting no more, right? When I forgive, it's gone. I no longer, this is where faith in God must come in. Because I cannot design in my head what ought to be the accountability or accountable restitution and reconciliation in order for my forgiveness to be accepted and complete. If my forgiveness is based on wanting to see something of an accountable nature take place, when the accountability falls short, my forgiveness is gone, it's out, it's done. I forgive you as long as these kids have a good life and a future. Well, if these kids don't have a good life and a future, then I ain't forgiving you. Or give me my forgiveness back. And that's what happens in a lot of relationships. We're seeking the internal peace of forgiveness and hoping for reconciliation of some type. And reconciliation and forgiveness are two different things, right? I can forgive you all day and never reconcile with you,
You said that.
right? And when I try to attach the conditions or accountability of restoration, restitution, or reconciliation to my forgiveness, I'm done, because I'm forgiving you so we can get back cool, right? I'm forgiving you, or I want you to forgive me, and when you forgive me, I want to come back and be tight with you again, right? I forgive you, man. I saw you. You did it. I caught in the act, right? Can we have dinner? Stay over there, right? You go as far to the east. Listen, Abram and Lot never, ever reconciled. They had a family fallout. These words are recorded in Scripture. You go east and I'll go west. You go your way and I'll go mine. We blood cousins. We nephew and uncle, right? But we ain't together no more.
Right.
And so we got to get into that. What are you trying? What are you forgiving to get back in the good graces? Are you seeking the internal peace and release from God? Are you trying to make it look good for folk? Because when you're trying to forgive to make it look good for folk, touch your neighbor and say, that ain't going to work.
That ain't gonna work.
That ain't going to work. Right? And it's just not going to work.
Right.
It's a pretty show.
So we're not forgiving with conditions. Right? If you do this, if you do that, then I'll forgive. Transactional forgiveness. Right? Because we have to stick with what the Bible says. If you forgive, then you will be forgiven. It may take time. Pastor said, we may not reconcile. And I'm going to forgive with boundaries. You're going to set boundaries with this person. And your boundaries are going to protect you from allowing them to offend you again. But what you're giving up is that right to be resentful and bitter and hateful. That's what you're giving up when you forgive.
Right.
And forgiveness allows for you to see people differently. I think Pastor and I talked about this as well. When I saw that story, the high schoolers was pranking the coach. The coach found out about the prank and was excited about the prank. So he had a counter prank because he was going to go out and like surprise them. So they were all in on it, the coach and the children. And they were going to toilet paper the tree, and his wife was in on it. And it was this big fun thing that was about to happen. He runs out of the house to surprise them and slips and falls. And when he fell, they are driving off in the car and they run over him, right? And they get out and they try to help him. So the wife says, the coach loved these boys. And these boys love the coach. And this is a very unfortunate incident.
Yep.
And she immediately went, because they were arrested, she asked them to drop the charges.
Now, I'm gonna be the bad guy,
Okay.
right? That sounds lovely, doesn't it? Does she have any children?
She has two. That's what he was asking.
All
Like,
right.
who,
She has some children. Right? I'm not getting into the accountability measure. Does he have a mother and a father?
I'm sure.
He probably did somewhere. Any brothers and sisters? Let's just say he had one or two. I want to know how the hell you gonna forgive somebody and drop the charges about the pain they caused in my life. When forgiveness is extended in this universal capacity, yes, it's her husband, but it was them children's daddy. You just forgave him, without allowing them to come into the fullness of their emotions. So now I got let's just say two children. I got two traumatized children who gonna grow up the rest of their life. I ain't talking about accountability about who gonna take care of them, but they're gonna grow up the rest of their life trying to look like the headline that my mother forgave these kids all of these years, but we never knew our daddy. And the trauma that these kids will now be embedded within them, the world has not seen yet, because we didn't give them a chance to feel, to process, to grow out, because we jumped up and said, it's forgiveness time. Don't forgive on behalf of someone else. Allow them to feel what they feel. If you come to forgiveness, forgiveness is between you and God. All these announcements we out here making about forgiveness, it ain't got nothing. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It didn't say go out and put a tattoo and say, I forgave my ex-husband because the Negro wasn't no good. Right? That's between you and God. Because your children may not have forgiven their father. You can demonstrate it and you can encourage it, but be careful about extending forgiveness on my behalf. It's some folk that I don't fool with and you can be cool with, but don't bring them to my house. Oh, Pastor, that's been a long time ago. It ain't been long enough for me. And I'm finna put you and them out. I'm real talk. I'm South Memphis. I'm for real. I'm talking to the good part of Bible study who still like what I'm talking about. Y'all will text me later. Because people will do that on your behalf. And you got to be real about, y'all don't put yourself into this. He's shouting in the balcony up there. Look at him. You got to be real about this thing, about rushing into forgiveness, extending forgiveness in this depth of not processing. It creates traumas and a superficial sense of trying to maneuver through faith that is not real. God understands you very clearly. The Lord loves you and knows you. And when you can't get over a hurdle that you're trying to get over, he accepts the fact that you are consciously making the effort of trying, right? And I'm just not there. It's a real thing. I'm not there yet.
Right.
Right? I'm not there yet.
Right. And Pastor brought out two things, right? Well, two different situations there. Forgiveness is one thing because forgiveness is yours to own. And it's individual. Because I said that we can have two people standing up here with the same offense, and one person may can forgive sooner than the other. And she forgave him for this offense, right? But then she said, drop the charges. So that is a whole other issue or a whole nother level, because I didn't think about the other people that were harmed by their actions. I didn't think about the children, possibly siblings, possibly mothers and fathers of this coach who may not be so ready to forgive. So it really is a bigger picture, and it's not just, a universal, this is what we should do like right now. Because rushed forgiveness is really damaging for you emotionally and really the person. Right? If you rush to forgive and you've not in your heart truly forgiven this person.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, I get the part about, okay, so Pastor, when you said that the mother the wife should have thought about the children and the siblings and all of that. But isn't that, I know she said she forgave him. Even though she forgave him and she did ask for the charges to be dropped against the young people. But does that still mean that she was, the part about dropping the charges part, do you mean that when she did that, that was an act of her saying that she was forgiving them for the children and for the...
I'm saying we should be very careful. I'm saying we be very careful to extend forgiveness out of our authority without considering the other people whom have been impacted. She was the authority, the person in authority, because she is the wife, right? She understood the situation to not be heinous and to be intended and all of those things. But still, an act of taking a life, a father and possibly a sibling or at least a son, has been taken. I'm saying that before I go to universally drop charges and say, I don't want to pursue this, I should engage with the parties around to have insight. Can I give you a clearer picture of it? All right. and I hope I'm not touching anybody's nerve in here when I say this. I can tell you where it happens more than anywhere. It happens when mama is on life support and has 3 children. 2 of them are saying, let her go, and 1 of them is saying, I'm not ready.
She said that's it.
Did I make it clear? And the 2 are deciding for me, and we saying, we don't want to see mama suffer like this. Well, hell, I'm suffering watching y'all let mama go. And I'm taking it personal that y'all have decided to let mama go, and I'm willing to do what I think is to fight for her, right? So these processes of decision, forgiving, releasing, right? They are difficult.
Very.
It takes days. And I've been with families in that very scenario, my own family at one point in many cases, where it took days for everybody to come to a point of agreement. But the moment, watch what I'm about to tell you, the moment one person makes the decision without involving the other players, at that point, from that point forward, we got a problem. Mm-hmm. Because in my eyes, you let Big Mama die. And who is to say if we had not tried?
Yeah.
Am I talking about real pastoral stuff from the Black Baptist Church? Mm-hmm. Y'all tell me when I'm wrong, okay? I'm telling you, man, I've lived this. I've seen this. I've prayed through this. I've walked with people through this. I've been here. Mm-hmm. And this, that forgiveness, and then, and we got some families right now that are still separate. We together, but we apart. Mm-hmm. And why are we apart? Because you, on my behalf, forgave, gave up, handed over, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, boom, 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 boom.
So forgiveness is complicated. It's complicated.
And I'm going to leave now since I've complicated the Bible study a lot. I didn't want y'all to rush through that.
Yeah,
I really
that was-
didn't.
this is good.
And I want you, and we still didn't tackle all the dimensions of it.
Really?
Because again, that inner peace and reconciliation model and all of that is deep, right? But I'm going to let the teacher wrap up for y'all, and y'all continue to wrap up, and then look forward to next week.
So we really are at the hour. It was a good hour, but I want you all to think about how complicated forgiveness is, right? Because we can read Matthew, we can read those verses, and we see what it says, but sometimes isn't it just hard to do what the Bible says? Yes. Like, it's hard. And there are so many different levels to forgiveness. Like, we can audibly speak, I forgive you, but our heart has to go through all of the processes and the healing to actually get to that place of forgiveness. Jesus delivered a tall order of forgiveness when he asked his Father to forgive them, for they know not what they do. And this situation was attached to death, his own, right? And so I know that it can be very difficult, but I believe the Bible when it says, in order to be forgiven, we haven't talked about our need for forgiveness. This was very one-sided with us forgiving others. But then when you go to the flip side and it's our need to be forgiven, we may not want all of the levels and the, God just says, ask and you shall be forgiven. Now, God does knows our heart and the condition of our heart. We can't fool God. When we get into this next station next week, 11, right? It's the two thieves on the cross. And it kind of feeds into this conversation that we've had tonight. So read over that for homework, the two thieves on the cross, and think about the conversations that's happening and the promise that is made. And come back ready to discuss that next week. Like, why did Jesus respond to him the way that he did? What was it about what he said, right, that caused Jesus to respond to him in that way? Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts? Come on. And I know we didn't answer all your questions, so just come back with them next week if you think about it and you have some more wonderings about what was said tonight.
So one thought that sticks out to me is the consequences of not forgiving, and then thinking about, how we, when we don't forgive, what that does to our hearts, and then how that complicates the process of being connected to God in our hearts. Because if we are not able to forgive, there's a hardening that takes place in our heart, that can take place in our hearts, which then cuts the line in some ways to us being as closely connected to God as we could be. So just kind of thinking about how that can simmer, and then what that could then cause us in our relationship with Christ to suffer, or how that can cause us with our relationship to Christ to suffer.
Good thought. Good thought. What are the consequences of us not forgiving? And our heart becomes hardened, and it impacts our relationship with God. So there is a consequence of not forgiving. And the Bible clearly says one of them is that you won't be forgiven. It says that. Does everybody agree with that? All right. All right. I'm going to stop there because like Pastor said, we can keep talking. We can keep talking about this. So our exit ticket today, like it was last week, find somebody and share with them something that resonated with you, something that may be difficult for you going forward, something that became crystal clear for you as a result of this. Share that for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we can consider ourselves dismissed. So everybody find somebody. And thank you to our virtual audience as well. Thank you. I'm going to turn this off so they